This is the story about the mines and towns in the Crowsnest Pass. As a person who has been involved in gold mining for the better part of his life, I don't often reflect on other commodities, especially like coal. However, in today's story, we're going to take a venture into coal country and look at some old mines and towns that are located in the Crow's Nest. Even though these mines produced millions of tons of coal and great wealth for the local towns, these very same mines and towns also saw some of the worst mining and natural disasters the country has ever seen. The Crow's Nest coal mines were located in the Crow's Nest Pass of the Rocky Mountains in southern Alberta, Canada. Each of these mines had their own little town, even though they were only a few miles apart at the time. There were the towns of Coleman, Blairmore, Belleview, Frank, and Hillcrest. It was in 1901 that Sam Gebo and Henry Frank developed the first of many coal mines in the Crow's Nest Pass at the base of Turtle Mountain. A town quickly built up, and by 1903 there were over 1,000 people with more than a dozen businesses and services, including a school and a post office. Then on April 29, 1903, at 4 a.m, a large section of 110 million tons of rock slid down and wiped out most of the town. Between 70 and 90 of the town's residents died in that rock slide. However, despite that disaster, the mine reopened within a month along with the reopening of the rail line. The town was eventually moved around 1911, but by 1917, the coal seams in the Frank area were exhausted, and as the mine closed down, the town population dwindled. One of the other earlier mines to open was located in Coleman. This mine was owned by the International Coal and Coke Company, which needed coal for its copper smelter located in British Columbia. By 1903, the mine needed more workers, so a town site was surveyed out, and in very short order, the town of Coleman came into being. Coleman was a company town, as the company owned pretty much everything, so life was good for the workers of the mine. The mine provided free water and hydroelectricity as an added bonus to the miners. Coleman was famous for its 100-plus coke ovens on the outskirts of the town. Then in 1905, prospector and entrepreneur Charles Hill came into the Crow's Nest Pass area and started the Hillcrest Coal and Coke Company. Charles was the prospector who also founded the town of Port Hill, Idaho. Once mining got started in this new mine, a town was quickly surveyed out, and soon there were close to 1,000 residents living in the new town of Hillcrest. The same year the mine opened, the rail company built a spur line to the mine so coal could be shipped out. The Hillcrest mine was considered one of the safest and most efficient of all the mines in the pass. However, on the morning of June 19, 1914, a blast ripped through the entire mine and would make this the worst mine disaster in history. A total of 189 workers died, about half of the mine's total workforce, which left 90 women widowed and about 250 children fatherless. Many of the victims were buried in a mass grave at the Hillcrest Cemetery. A further explosion in 1926 killed 2 more workers. The Hillcrest mine continued working until 1939. The Hillcrest mine disaster wasn't the only mine explosion in the Crow's Nest. On December 9, 1910, an explosion in the Belleview mine killed 30 miners. Then in 1917, a fire destroyed most of the town's business section, followed by smaller fires in 1921 and 1922. Then in 1923, a lower portion of Belleview was flooded out. The Belleview mine was owned by the West Canadian Collieries Company. The Belleview mines were some of the larger mines and worked until the mid-1950s. Just because these were coal mining towns doesn't mean there wasn't any gun-slinging action like some of the old West gold camps had. On August 2, 1920, 3 miners decided to rob the Canadian Pacific Railway's train at gunpoint. While one of the miners was able to jump across the border into the United States, the other 2 were later found in a local cafe in the town of Bellevue. As 3 police officers entered the cafe, a shootout began with 2 officers getting killed, and a 3rd officer was also accidentally shot and killed by another officer. The gunman took off but was later arrested in a nearby town and was later convicted of murder and was hung. The second suspect fled but was captured in 1924 in Butte, Montana. He would die in prison in his second year of a 7-year sentence. If you ever get a chance to travel through the Crowsnest Pass in Alberta, by all means do so. The highway will take you right through all these small towns. Remains of the old mines and collieries can still be seen in the hills along the various roadways. There is a mine tour of the old Belleview mine that you can visit, as well as the Hillcrest Mining Memorial Site. The old brick buildings in Blairmore are now eateries, pubs, and gift shops. Some of the mountain slopes have been turned into ski hills and hiking trails. You can also walk along a trail over all the rocks of the Frank Slide. I hope you enjoyed this short story about the coal mines and towns of the Crow's Nest. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you more old lost mine stories.